Hey, what is up guys, MurgerMan4 here, and today I'm going to be discussing my thoughts and opinions on the final season of Doctor Who's original run, Season 26. While we now know that things would work out in the end, it was a period of uncertainty, not just for the fans, but cast and crew as well, as the show was never officially cancelled, just kind of quietly brushed aside. But here we are, decades later, and poring over a brand new release filled with content that is a labor of love to the era and to its creators. Season 26 was once the end, but now it's just one of many, the capstone to an era, rather than the final nail in the coffin. Doctor Who clearly had more work to do. So, Season 26. I obviously can't speak for fan reaction at the time of broadcast, but certainly today it's very highly regarded. Popular opinion seems to be that the show suffered a continuous decline in quality throughout the 80s, particularly in the Colin Baker years and at the very least the first season with Sylvester McCoy. But Season 26 proves beyond all doubt that the show had not entirely lost its magic. While McCoy's first year of adventures is often seen as one of the worst seasons in the show's history, Season 26 is often seen as one of the best. And while I'll freely admit that my opinion doesn't always line up with the popular fan opinion, it absolutely does in this case, and Season 26 is without a doubt one of my all-time favorites. So why don't we delve into this season, starting with the premiere, Battlefield. Battlefield kicks off Season 26 to a pretty solid start, even if it is admittedly the weakest of the season. I think any issues it might have mainly comes from the execution. I love the ideas behind it. The mix of Arthurian myth and Doctor Who's science fiction makes for a brilliant contrast, and writer Ben Aronovich injects some really interesting timey-wiminess into the story, with something I'm surprised Doctor Who had never really explored before or since. The idea of the Doctor's future actions affecting his present self. I love the villains of the piece, Morgane and her son Mordred, and the relationship is a really interesting one to watch. And of course, Battlefield also includes a very special appearance by Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart, seen here for the first time since the 5th Doctor's era, and in what would unfortunately be his final appearance on the show. But it's fun as ever having the Brigadier back in action, and his seeming self-sacrifice near the end plays out wonderfully, even if Aronovich didn't quite have the heart to follow through with his original plan. I'll admit, Battlefield has some embarrassing moments. But on the whole, it's a lot of fun, and as I've mentioned, it has some really great ideas as well. So, I'm going to be giving Battlefield a solid 7.5 out of 10. Often cited as the most complicated and confusing story in Doctor Who's history, Ghostlight is an intricate tale that is well crafted enough that even if it leaves you baffled, you know you had a good time. One of Ghostlight's greatest strengths is how incredibly atmospheric it is. It's genuinely creepy, and honestly, the confusion can actually heighten the experience, adding a layer of the unknown and unease. Gabriel Chase is filled to the brim with memorable characters, with each performance pitched to perfection, and it also gives us some interesting commentary on change and evolution. And then a step towards the new series style of companion, Ace gets some real depth here, as we delve into some of her childhood trauma, with the manipulative 7th Doctor just getting started. For such a creepy story, the script is also filled with some great humor as well. In fact, the dialogue in general just sparkles. Smart, scary, and highly enjoyable, Ghostlight is the first real hit of Season 26, and it won't be the last. Easily worthy of an 8.5 out of 10. After penning Ace's introductory story in Season 24, writer Ian Briggs returns to give us an awesome culmination of Ace's journey with the Doctor so far. And that's just one of the many, many awesome things about this story. It's another timey-wimey entry for this season, with Ace unknowingly meeting her own grandmother, and mother as a baby, creating her own future, the childhood that she hates so much. All set up by Fenric, who brought Ace and the Doctor together in the first place as part of his game against the Doctor. The Doctor, meanwhile, takes his manipulation a step further in one of the most emotional moments in the show's history, where he has to break Ace's faith in him to ensure his victory over Fenric. It's absolutely chilling, a fascinating exploration of both of our leads, and proves that Ace and the Seventh Doctor is one of the most complex and interesting relationships that the show has ever explored. In fact, faith is a strong theme throughout the story. Captain Soren's faith in the Soviet Union, and especially Reverend Wainwright's failing faith in God, are both eloquently explored. And speaking of Soren and Wainwright, The Curse of Fenric brings together an absolutely amazing group of supporting characters. Not just them, but also Commander Millington, Dr. Judson, Kathleen Dudman, each character fleshed out in great depth and brought alive by superb performances. And I can't fail to mention the monsters of the piece, the Hemivores, which are incredibly chilling and have a great build-up throughout the story. There's just so much to like about The Curse of Fenric, and it's easy to see why it's so highly regarded by fandom. A superb story that's worth at least a 9 out of 10. Right off the bat, I just want to say that I love Survival, and not just because of the irony of its title. Despite the character work of the last couple of stories, this story feels particularly up close and personal. Certainly it's a quieter tale, with not a whole lot of plot, as it's mainly the characters who are driving the story. While the guest cast may not be as interesting or notable as the last couple, they're still fairly entertaining, and Survival also marks the only on-screen encounter between the Seventh Doctor and the Master, and Anthony Ainley's final on-screen appearance in the role. In particular, there's some great scenes between the Doctor and the Master, featuring a figurative turned literal battle against the animal inside, an animal which the Master embraces. The animals in this case are the cheetah people, admittedly a bit laughably realized, but they're still interesting creatures that serve the story well. I also want to mention, and perhaps it's because of its strong suburban setting, that, rather fittingly, this story feels the most like a new series story out of the classic era, and with just a few tweaks, it probably could have aired in 2005 and fit right in. Being the last story of the classic era, the last-minute speech at the end is, in my opinion, the perfect way to end Doctor Who. I love it to bits, and I hope that when the day inevitably comes again for Doctor Who to end, it takes a page from Survival's book. All in all, Survival's smaller scale really works for me, and provides a fascinating tale to close out not just the season, but the original show. I'll gladly give Survival an 8.5 out of 10. Sylvester McCoy's era is oft derided by fandom, especially since it marked the death of the show for many years. But man, what a high to go out on. From season 24, which I'll freely admit is my least favorite season of all time, to season 26, which is one of the all-time bests, no other era of the show has ever seen such a renaissance in quality as this one. Superb stories, superb characters, and I also want to mention superb music. The Curse of Fenric and Survival have two of my favorite scores ever. This season is just a joy from start to finish, and is one of only two, along with season 7, that I think not only lacks a single dud, but doesn't have anything less than good in it. I would gladly watch any story from this season, anytime. And of course, I can't fail to mention McCoy's 7th Doctor and Sophie Aldred's Ace, who make an incredible team and are one of, if not the, most fascinating Doctor-companion relationships in the show's history, and brought to life absolutely beautifully at that. Season 26 is an absolute smashing success in every sense of the word, no doubt about it. It's no wonder we're still talking about it so fondly today. And with season 26, we now have 6 different seasons to compare against each other. But first, how does this season's stories compare against each other? The Curse of Fenric is at the top of season 26 with a 9 out of 10, followed by Ghostlight and then Survival, both with an 8.5 out of 10. Bringing up the rear is Battlefield with a still solid 7.5 out of 10. Together, season 26 has an average of 8.4 out of 10. Easily the highest average so far, and a very tough score to beat. So with such a high average, where else can season 26 go but right at the very top of our list of seasons? This season gives a boost to the 80s as well, bringing its average up to 7.25 out of 10, while Sylvester McCoy joins in our Doctor ranking at the top. When it comes to this season's writers, Ian Briggs enters in 3rd with a 9 out of 10, with Mark Platt and Rona Munro coming in 6th and 7th with their 8.5 out of 10s. Finally, Ben Aronovich comes in at 14th with a 7.5 out of 10. Meanwhile, in the list of producers, Season 26 provides another boost for John Nathan Turner, and finally he no longer occupies the final spot with a new average of 7.25 out of 10. And of course, Andrew Cartmel sits at the top of the script editors list with an 8.4 out of 10. This season has also allowed director Nicholas Mallet to steal the top spot from Barry Letts, with The Curse of Fenric bringing his directing average up to an 8.5 out of 10. Alan Waring places 4th, also with an 8.5 average for Ghostlight and Survival, while Michael Kerrigan enters at 13th with a 7.5 out of 10. However, for all its successes, Season 26 does falter slightly when it comes to the premiere category, coming in the bottom half in 4th place, and keeping the premiere average of 7.3 exactly the same. However, its finale snags 2nd, just behind The Green Death and a whole point higher than 3rd place, bringing the finale average up to a 6.2 out of 10. But Season 26 is back to knocking things right out of the park when it comes to the top 10. It may not have any entries at the very top, but it does manage to place 3 of its 4 stories here. The highest percentage yet, and something that will no doubt become harder and harder as time goes on. But even more important is that it's the first season to not land a single story in the bottom 10, with Battlefield managing to stick 19th place out of 32 total. It'll be curious to see how many other seasons can manage the same feat. And that brings my review of Season 26 to a close. It may be the end of an era in more ways than one, but what a season to end on. Really superb stuff, and well deserving of its high reputation in fandom. But with that, I hope you enjoyed my review, and please leave your thoughts on Season 26 down below. Morganman4, over and out, and I'll see you guys later.